Welcome to the Civic Lens, where in this episode where we read with you the newspaper daily. So just This is the Civic Lens, and in this episode, we read with you the daily reads, the newspaper. And so today, this is what you woke up to. In the front page of the Daily Nation, we have that's the Saturday Nation today. We have how grade 9 learners will be examined. So that is what you're going to find in the front page of that newspaper today, how grade 9 will be examined. That's important because at grade 9 now, they're finishing the junior secondary, that is as per the current curriculum. And previously, when people joined or finished primary, they used to do the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education, pardon me, and then proceed to high school. But now with the current CBC curriculum that has this particular differences made to Form 1 being grade 9 and so on, when you finish grade 9 now, the NEC will be doing this to the students that are sitting their grade 9 examination. The details reveal how assessment will be done, and in the front page of the Daily Nation, the curriculum combines projects, multiple choice questions, short structured tests, and essays covering 9 learning areas. So that is the main story on the front page of the Daily Nation or the Saturday Nation today. You remember class 8 used to do a total of 7 exams. That's being mathematics, English, Kiswahili, social study sciences, and the 2 writings that were done on the languages, the composition and insha. But now grade 9, as per this new model of studies, will be doing 9 assessment in 9 different subjects that they do currently. And that marks the top story in the Saturday Nation today. But on the side of the paper, there are also other stories. Like on the farthest end of the paper, that's towards the right, there is a story of Nandi Hills MP Bernard Kitur, right, who is among the legislators investigating the kidney trade and speaking with a victim in Eldoret accompanied by the mother. So there is a picture of the Nandi Hills MP, a mother and a child, and the headline is "Why We Sold Our Kidneys." The story is intriguing because MPs are now shocked with this current kidney sale, and the main story is found on page 4 of the Daily Nation today. We'll take a look at it shortly. Below that story, there is also the story on security. New plot to replace Kenyan Haiti mission. So there is a story there on the bottom left of the Daily or the Saturday Nation today of America backing the latest plan to boost fight against gangs that could change operations in troubled Caribbean country. You remember shortly after Ruto came into power, there was a mass movement of certain security personnel, specifically from the Kenya police, that were being moved to Haiti for some mission. Now, the story on page 11 of the Saturday Nation shows that there is a new plot to replace the Kenyan Haiti mission. And America backs the latest plan to boost fight against gangs in the Caribbean area. The story is in page 11. You will find it there and know whether or not the plan to back up the mission in Haiti is with more security personnel from Kenya, or if America intends to get other security personnel from other AMISOM groups and AMISOM countries. We will take a look at that story shortly. On the farthest end, that's to the left, the top left of the Saturday Nation today, is a title, "The City That Ate Itself." And it details how the Nairobi, has been since the 1978 to date. The story says original scene in Nairobi's estates crisis. So that's in page 10 on the city that ate itself. And to the right top, we have Chan football fever, the hits and misses in page 3. I think this page 3, and we will take a look at it, covers towards the finals that are coming now today or tomorrow with the Chan this weekend. There are concerns, or rather reflection, on what has been the hits and the misses with the Chan since it came within the 3 East African countries. So that really marks the front page of the Daily Nation. If you're waking up to that, that's the news that is on the news dailies today. Nothing political, nothing strange, except for the kidney sale and also for the examination of the grade 9 learners. That's on the top story. We have tried to reach out if the Standard have updated their platform. Until now they haven't, neither has the Star. But with the Standard, I think now it's sufficient to recap the titles that have been on the Standard throughout the week. On Monday, the Standard had this top story featuring William Ruto carrying a cup of tea and certain pictures of the screenshots. That was on 25th of August 2025. This story sparked a lot of discussions within the political spectrum because it had leaked screenshots of members of parliament speaking to William Ruto, and William Ruto speaking to members of parliament, giving them directions on what to do with certain, issues that concerned the executive, including to verify this gentleman, the current Deputy President Kithure Kindiki. And the title of the story was Use and Dump. Use and Dump. It has been a title that a lot of political commentators have been using over the week, and this was the front page of the Standard magazine on Monday. So the Standard had these pictures, I'd say, of Ruto and the screenshots, and the caption was this: communication, including excerpts from in-house WhatsApp groups in our possession, reveal President Ruto's hand in parliamentary misdeeds despite his recent trade against the House, from passing off unpopular Finance Bill 2024 to removal of the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and passing of unpopular laws such as the Affordable Housing Act 2024. Ruto has used Parliament to serve his agenda and not the people. Yeah, so the story that the Standard was fronting, my friend Okumu Modaki, who does these headlines, was doing in front of the Standard, was just showing how Ruto has, numerous times met his achievement or his intention using the House, that's using the Senate and using the National Assembly, being the Parliament specifically, without failure. And now that he has used them to pass the housing bill, the finance bill, the removal of Rigathi Gachagua, the confirmation of Kindiki, even against the constitutional issues that were raised, the Standard on Monday was saying his purpose with them was done. So after that, that was the headline on Monday. On Tuesday, the Standard now shifted from Ruto to Aden Duale, and it had a 3-word headline, each having 3 letters, Sha ripoff. So the Standard on 26th of August had a top story that was revealing Duale's face on the front page, and the chairperson of Sha, Abdi Mohammed, on the and the headline was Sha rip-off. This was the caption on Tuesday. In an unprecedented turn, less than a year after the Social Health Authority started paying claims by hospitals for services rendered in the footsteps of the National Health Insurance Fund, the process has sparked public outrage. Little-known hospitals associated with the senior government officials have been paid huge amounts ranging in millions of shillings, but not commensurate with the services they offer. Now, you remember at the Civic Lens, we did a story on this Sha thing on the very Tuesday. And there were conversations that the chairperson of Sha, Mr. Mohammed, currently also is the founder of Ladnan Hospital that's found in the northern part of Kenya. and this hostel had received 66 million directly from SHA among the 2.1 billion that was paid to suspicious demands. So people were asking whether or not SHA was started for these personal gains. And Aden Duale was on the spot to answer these questions, which he didn't. He ended up accusing the media for being, Agatha media, and going ahead to say that he was not going to give business to the dailies. So we covered it in one of our videos here at the Civic Lens. If you go to our videos, you'll find the Shambolic saga, and you can actually subscribe to watch our timely videos. So when we were covering this story, we were focusing on Aden Duale and the SHA issue. And the Standard also did this title, just showing how certain individuals who are senior managers of the current SHA thing benefited from eating millions, at the expense of Kenyans. At the top, you can find Gloom at 15, that's the 2010 constitutional trial. They did this story shortly after or shortly before the Kenyan Constitution 2010 was celebrated for achieving 15 years, and that was the headline of the story. They didn't have much on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, the Standard had this amazing title called The Scandalous. The title is Scandalous, and the caption reads, as Kenyans struggle to put food on the table amid the escalating cost of living, the Ruto administration has behind closed doors struck a deal to spend hundreds of millions of shillings in taxpayers' funds, not on necessities, but on pushing its battered image in Washington, D.C. This comes just moments after a Republican senator tabled a motion before Congress to reassess Kenyan standing, citing links to Sudanese warlords and a brutal domestic record marked by abductions and killings. Now, the Ruto presidency appears intent on saving face. You see, this headline covered three things all in one. First, it covered the story of Senator Rich of the United States of America. Senator Rich had started this motion in the Senate to look at the activities of Kenya in the warlord countries like Somalia and in Sudan. And also during the same week, there was also talks of certain officials of government and ex-government officials, including Uhuru Kenyatta, who were lobbying with the Washington House to find favor with the 7 elections. So the story that the Standard covered in this front page was just showing how Kenyans struggle to put food on the table, while at the same time, Ruto is trying to keep this image with the Washington amidst this bad image with the United States of America. So that was the main story on the Standard on Tuesday. It was covering the issue of rate. And then below it, you can see the Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Korir down there, and their signatures and extracts of certain communications signed by that the Standard had on their front page on Wednesday, in case you missed it. On Thursday, the two faces that were there on Tuesday came back with a different title before the Standard magazine. And now the title was The Untouchables. You remember at first, that was not the title. The title was The SHA Ripoff. Now, the story quietens down on Wednesday, and on Thursday, these two gentlemen come back in front of the daily, this daily. And the story is The Untouchables. This was the caption before I go down in details. Now, Aden Duale has built a career thriving on controversy and is now presiding over a ministry marred in ghost hospitals and fraudulent payouts. The Social Health Authority chairman, Abdi Mohamed, is equally at the center of multi-billion shilling scam, with MPs linking him to phantom facilities and shady payments. Together, the two epitomize a culture of impunity, where public outrage never translates into accountability. Even as lawmakers demand their resignations, the duo stand insulated by proximity to power, unshaken and unrepentant. While we were doing the SHA story at the Civic Lens, we captured the story of Aden Duale and why Duale could be seen to be untouchable in this time and era where he serves as the Cabinet Secretary for Health. And we detailed that Duale's loyalty stems back to Ruto, stems back even pre the Kenyatta era. And when they got into government with Kenyatta, and Kenyatta now had to let go of Duale, Duale solidified his trust, or rather his loyalty to William Ruto around that time, until they got power in 2022. Now, after 2022, we have seen Ruto shift Duale through different ministries. There was Duale in defense, and at defense, he was blamed for actually having a civilian voice that was louder than the voice of the generals of defense themselves. And it is rumored that it is the generals themselves that talked to William Ruto to shift Duale from defense to another ministry. So he was feared, and Duale came out clearly to say that the people in the defense had nothing really to fear about him. Shortly after, we saw Duale in the Karura issue, and the Karura issue is very live today because we will talk about that shortly. We saw Duale in environment. When we saw Duale in environment, what was first witnessed was trees being cut down in Karura. And Karura has been facing degradation since Duale in environment until date. So trees were cut in Karura, and Duale's defense was that they were maturing or harvesting mature trees. Okay, if they were harvesting mature trees, what parliamentarians and members of Senate said is that there was no proper channel or proper communication from the ministry to the relevant stakeholders that these mature trees were being harvested in Karura Forest. After that, tukaona private developers building hotels in Karura Forest, still under Duale's ministry. So Duale was focused there, and Duale rather was not praised after leaving the ministry for whatever we saw happen to Karura Forest. Right now, friends of Karura Forest have, are in law forest services because of the degradation that is going on in Karura Forest, and still the payments that are being channeled through the eCitizen platform. So we could say that the problem we are witnessing in Karura Forest stemmed from this Duale time, and now we see SHA mass house for misuse of money under Duale's or not being exempted as a cabinet secretary after all these allegations just shows his proximity to power and how that proximity to power has insulated him, and that, you, as we have said, you can stem from his loyalty to Ruto way before the Kenyatta era. Now there's an introduction of a new individual called Aden Mohamed, who is the chairperson of SHA, to this list of untouchables that are very close to block or Ruoba. Now, Senator Ruoba, who was Ruto's favorite, you can remember when Ruto was addressing the nation and pinching Senator Ruoba on the cheek, has now been ousted from the Senate and cannot even access the Senate proceedings when her own matter is being determined before the disciplinary. And on Thursday, there was a story in front of the papers of Senator Ruoba actually making a fuss and being blocked by police and security officials from accessing the very Senate where she has served all these 3 years as a nominated senator. And on the far right, we had the story of the Standard Group staff celebrating the Chan Trophy that has been being showcased in Kenya for fans to see. So there was nothing much other than that on Thursday. And on Friday, Duale again was in front of this daily, that's the Standard, with now a different title. Now, you remember on Tuesday, Duale was in front of this daily with the title SHA Ripoff. On Thursday, Duale was in front of this daily with the title The Untouchables. But on Friday, Duale was in front of this daily being told, you are actually dispensable. And this was the caption. So an attempt by Health CS Aden Duale to castigate this paper on his social media handle had Kenyans coming down heavy on him, telling him to his face to resign. The CS has carved out an image of a bullish, arrogant, and bossy individual, readily using his vitriolic tongue to lash out at anyone who sees beyond his PR gimmicks. Media has been his favorite punchbag as he fails to see that his record at Afya House is getting muddier. As Kenyans took him head-on, details emerged yesterday revealing more disturbing failures at the Social Health Authority. So yeah, the picture there is of Aden Duale, that's the caption, and a few of it is sections of comments of Kenyans from X. I will just read a few. There is Bright Shitemi saying, Bwana CS, a time is coming when men in expensive suits and dresses who think Kenya is theirs for the taking will languish in jail, if not worse. It's not far off. Lawi Almighty Amolo says, no, they are simply saying that you are a shameless thief, appointed by a thief and therefore feels invisible. But the good news is that your day is right around the corner. Paul Davis says, have you paid interns? The county government say your statements that UHC staff were absorbed was diversionary from the fact that SHA money has been stolen under your watch. What is going on, Bwana Nani? Don't run to ethnicity every time you are asked questions that you cannot answer. Then Honorable Aden Duale himself on The response to the Untouchables comment that the Standard made on Wednesday said, the Standard Gata Press has now embarked on retrogressive ethnic profiling. My advice is for chair and shareholders to pay their staff salaries that is due for last 12 months. The Kenya healthcare delivery is undergoing a major transformation under UHFC Taifa Care. That is accessible, affordable, equity and quality healthcare for the people, period. So that was the media getting back at Duale's statement and using the backup of the people to show that Duale's statement and attacks on the media that has been consistent is not being taken lightly. And people are telling him not to run to the tribal issue or defense that keeps pulling whenever he's asked questions of accountability. We will live to see, now that Ruto said that people who are implicated in this share thing will be brought to book. We'd love to see what happens to Aden Duale under the directive of Ruto, whether he will still be a cabinet minister under the same ministry, or he will be shifted, or he will be even removed at worst. So we will see how that unfolds later on. But below that, we have the other issue of SHA getting even sharper in that headline. SHA billion feared lost in SHA misses. We have mishaps. Since replacing the defunct NHIF, SHA has paid out approximately 53 billion to hospitals. However, in a shocking turn, the agency has been forced to revert to manual verification for more than 500,000 hospital claims from the country after the digital system collapsed, which could lead to loss of 24 billion. Well, these things collapsing and money disappearing is the new norm of these systems. You remember eCitizen and so on. And now we are being told in that front page of this daily that when people shifted from now the electronic system that failed to the manual system that they have been using before, there is a likelihood of a 24 billion being lost as a result of that shift. Most likely, it's even lost already. That's why they are shifting. So that has been the story in the dailies over the week from the Standard. Let's go back to a few snippets of what's happening within the Daily Nation today. Yes, so we gave you a quick reading of what was in the front page of the Daily Nation, or rather the Saturday Nation, because today is Saturday. And we showed you that the major topic is really how the learners in grade 9 will be assessed. At this point, we want to take our normal culture of going up to the 11th page of the paper and assess what is really in the first few 10 pages of the paper, and that will mark the end of our lives. So into the second page of the Daily Nation today, the top story is East Africa stars reap big from Chan closing shows. The story just details how artists have actually had a chance to reap big from these three East African countries during this competition. And that's really important. From Tanzania, Zuchu has really stood out during these competitions. From Uganda, Eddy Kenzo has stood out during these competitions. And from Kenya, Bien Soul, All My Enemies Are Suffering, has been a constant hit being played during the Chan competition. So this first, or rather the second page of the Saturday Nation today, being a Saturday, focuses on how artists have benefited from the SHA competition. You can find the full story there. On the third page of the Daily Nation today, hits and misses as football fever gets to finale. The full story is there, people capturing or rather recollecting what has been the hits and misses since Chan came for these three East African countries, and for Kenya specifically. There's a picture of Kenyans sitting by the roadside next to the Moi International Center. The caption is residents watch the Kenya versus Madagascar match on the big screen. This is residents in Eldoret actually. Watch the Kenya versus Madagascar match on big screen at Zion Mall Street on August 2022. Kenya used more than 10 billion to host the tournament. And it's also commendable on the part of Kenya actually. Kenya also tried that most Kenyans who did not have access to either their phones or their televisions would access certain public places to watch the competition. In Nairobi, there were certain spots where people could sit and watch the competition there. Now, this is Zion Mall in Eldoret. I think there was also a screen there. In Migori, there were screens. So across the country, even in Mombasa, the county devolution, has decentralized their development in a very commendable way, that now even if you cannot access your phone or television, you had a chance to watch these competitions from the headquarters of your county. If your county did not have a television for watching or for showing Chan football, It's up to your governor to actually upgrade ahead of the AFCON competitions and have a platform for your people to watch if they cannot access their televisions or their phones. So that is on the third page of the story today. Then the fourth page of that paper, we have MPs here harrowing tales of kidney trade. A picture of a lady, mourning and wiping her tears with a handkerchief, a very old lady. And the caption is, a mother of one of the people who claims to have received for 50,000 to have his kidney during an interview in Eldoret yesterday. The full story is harrowing. It has the Nandi MP there in the front page. Certain people want their kidneys sold. The full story is on page 4 of the the Saturday Nation. On page 6 brings the face of the governor that was talked about quite some time earlier this month and towards the end of last month, Governor Orengo, who disappeared for some time before showing his face again in the public limelight. And the story showing Governor Orengo says here, Governor James Orengo addressed press at his office in Siaya Town yesterday on the upcoming Siaya County Investment and Trade Conference. The top story is that Orengo says how investment conference will boost Siaya. So Siaya Investment and Trade Conference is scheduled for October 14 to 17. These conferences are actually developed counties, and there have been talks on why Ruto right now centers these conferences for the counties in the Nyanza region. Those talks could be political and could have weight of their own. But we saw the devolution conference being held in Homa Bay. We saw another conference shortly after an international one was also held in Homa Bay. And now we are seeing a shift coming from Homa Bay to Siaya, and Orengo will be hosting this trade conference that is scheduled for 14 to 17. It's positive for the county of Siaya, and Orengo there in that top story in page 5 of the Daily Nation says that investment conference now will boost Siaya County. The full story on the trade conference and how it will boost the Siaya County is on that page. So just a minute follow up. Yes, it's on that page. So page 6 of the Daily Nation has the story I've just talked about, the Karura Forest Kashiro Spark standoff. The story on Karura Forest, where the center of battle between the community, Kenya Forest Service, in millions in gate fees. You see, these gate fees that are being paid to Karura Forest are still being paid through eCitizen. And some friends of Karura Forest refused about this, but the Kenya Forest Service has still insisted that payments be made through eCitizen. This is shocking. Most government institutions are still making their payments through eCitizen, even after it has been confirmed publicly that eCitizen is a hoax, it's a corruption den, and it was arrived at without even any legal justification backing it. So this notwithstanding, we still have university payments, going through eCitizen. We experienced a park called Sojarek in one of the universities recently, and that park is a Japanese park, or rather a Japanese Kenya alliance agreement that gave rise to that park. And when we wanted to access that park, we still had to pay through eCitizen. We even questioned why we are paying through eCitizen, and they said we still have to pay through eCitizen because the school requires that we pay through eCitizen. So I don't know how long Kenyan systems are going to take before they wake from this realization that the eCitizen is hoax, and I don't know how long it will take before they do that, because before they do that, the period between now and when they do that, Kenyans keep pumping money into this pool of corruption that has really been confirmed is a pool of corruption. Back to the story. Karura Forest Kashiro Spark standoff is in page 6 of the Standard, the Saturday Standard, and Karura Forest, covering over 1041 hectares, being conserved, is now under standoff. And the picture is of Friends of Karura rather demonstrating. The caption is that members of Friends of Karura Forest protested on Muru Road yesterday against the Kenya Forest Service directive requiring gate fees to be paid via eCitizen. Of course, the same thing we're talking about. Friends of Karura saying there's no need to make these payments via eCitizen. Now, page 7 of the Saturday of the Saturday Standard. Pardon me for that hitch, because it's always the Daily Nation. Now, if it's Saturday, I'm confusing between Saturday Nation and the Saturday Standard. Pardon me, honestly. But page 7 of the Saturday Nation talks of ministry goes after phantom schools as funding withheld. There's the story of the funding withheld on education and now what ministries will do about phantom schools over there in the top page, and below it how NEC will evaluate junior school students. The story on the front page is covered in page 7 of the Daily. Page 8 of the Daily has 37 billion donor cash irregularly utilized. MPs told flows followed violation of procurement laws. Then page 10, the capital city that ate itself. Nairobi estate crisis began in 1978. The story of the Nairobi city crisis is in page 10. Thank you so much for keeping it here at the Civic Lens. This is our daily reading of the paper with you. That is the update that comes from the Saturday Nation today and the update that has come from the Standard over the week. See you again same time tomorrow for the same paper read. This is the Civic Lens, and please subscribe if you're joining our channel for the first time.